guys, bersama saya lagi dalam ORAITNOPO channel. Tarif berkaitan dengan tarif. Trump delay 90 hari. Walaupun delay, kita tahu bagaimana perangai Trump yang sekejap berubah, sekejap itu, sekejap ini. Jadi tindakan Malaysia dengan tarif yang Trump kenakan ini, Malaysia sedang cuba ya untuk mengadakan rundingan ya dengan pihak Amerika Serikat dan Menteri MITI Tengku Zafrul bertanggungjawab untuk berbincang ya berkaitan dengan tarif ini. Jadi dalam masa delay ini sebenarnya memberikan masa untuk kita berbincang lebih details dengan pihak Amerika Serikat. Jadi mari kita lihat satu sidang media yang begitu jelas.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera, salam Malaysia Madani. Terima kasih kepada rakan-rakan media yang hadir pada hari ini di dalam sidang media. Ini perkembangan terkini berkenaan isu tarif timbal balik yang dilaksanakan oleh Amerika Syarikat. So pagi tadi kita ada mesyuarat yang dipengerusikan oleh Yang Berhormat Perdana Menteri, mesyuarat National Geoeconomic Command Center bersama-sama dengan ahli jemaah menteri. Dan MITI telah memberi taklimat perkembangan terkini tentang pelaksanaan tarif timbal balik oleh kerajaan Amerika Syarikat, terutamanya setelah penangguhan 90 hari yang diumumkan oleh Presiden Trump pada 9 April yang lepas. Sebagaimana yang kita sedia maklum, Malaysia adalah antara lebih 75 buah negara yang termasuk dalam senarai negara yang diberi penangguhan. Jadi kerajaan menyambut baik penangguhan ini dan tempoh penangguhan akan diguna sebaik mungkin untuk memastikan proses rundingan dapat dijalankan dengan kerajaan Amerika Syarikat dalam tempoh terdekat. Kerajaan ingin menegaskan bahawa pendirian Malaysia kekal, bahawa kita tidak akan menggunakan tarif timbal balas terhadap import dari Amerika Syarikat. Objektif kita adalah untuk menurunkan kadar tarif dan memperluaskan senarai pengecualian untuk ekspor Malaysia supaya impak negatif terhadap ekonomi kita dapat dimitigasi. Seperti mana yang sedia maklum, situasi terkini masih agak fluid dan tidak menentu. Pendirian kerajaan Amerika Syarikat nampaknya berubah setiap hari. MITI dan agensi-agensinya sedang memantau keadaan ini dan mengambil langkah proaktif untuk memastikan kedudukan strategik Malaysia terlindung. Amerika Syarikat merupakan antara ragang dagang yang terpenting untuk Malaysia. Namun demikian, Malaysia mempunyai portfolio perdagangan yang diversified atau tidak terlalu bergantung pada satu atau dua pasaran semata-mata. Pada tahun 2024, jumlah perdagangan dengan Amerika Syarikat adalah 11.3% daripada jumlah keseluruhan perdagangan Malaysia. Ini bermakna kita masih ada lebih 88% pasaran yang terbuka untuk kita pertingkatkan perdagangan kita. Tetapi kita juga harus faham bahawa rantaian bekalan dunia amat terkait ya, dengan satu sama lain. Ini bermakna kekurangan sesebuah pasaran mungkin akan mengakibatkan domino efek atau impak langsung kepada rantaian bekalan yang melibatkan hubungan ekonomi Malaysia dengan negara-negara lain. Walau apapun, kita masih menghargai pasaran Amerika dan akan berusaha untuk terus berbincang bagi mencari solusi terbaik untuk hubungan ekonomi Malaysia dan Amerika Syarikat. Justru strategi kerajaan dengan pendekatan bilateral dan multilateral dipacu oleh tiga keutamaan, iaitu reform, engage and diversify. Iaitu pertama tadi, engage, kita akan terus melaksanakan sesi libat urus dengan kerajaan Amerika Syarikat di setiap peringkat dalam tempoh terdekat. Jadi kita sesi libat urus ini juga akan diadakan dengan pihak industri dan kementerian dan agensi yang berkenaan. Kedua, dari segi diversify, mempergiat perbincangan proaktif dengan blok-blok ekonomi, negara-negara dan pasaran-pasaran lain untuk memperluaskan pasaran. Yang ketiga, dari segi reform, kita nak mempercepatkan reformasi ekonomi kita dengan NIMP, NETR dan sebagainya bagi memperkukuh kapasiti rantaian bekalan domestik dan membantu meningkat kecekalan pengeksport. Sepanjang minggu lepas, MITI telah mengadakan beberapa sesi libat urus dengan pelbagai pihak yang berkepentingan. Yang utama ialah terutamanya sektor industri yang terlibat dalam pengeksportan dan pemain-pemain pasaran modal juga untuk mendapatkan pandangan dan mendengar secara langsung impak ini kepada pemain industri. Jadi di dalam sesi perbincangan tertutup ini kita telah beberapa cadangan telah diusulkan kepada MITI dan kita sedang meneliti cadangan dan permintaan ini yang telah dipanjangkan kepada kementerian-kementerian yang berkaitan. Saya ingin menegaskan keadaan ekonomi masih terkawal dan asas ekonomi kita masih kukuh dan stabil yang seperti diterangkan oleh Bank Negara dan Kementerian Kewangan. Dan kerajaan kita akurlah kita kena bertindak pantas, namun pada masa yang sama kita juga kena fleksibel ya dalam mengadaptasi perkembangan dan perubahan terkini. Jadi di antara langkah-langkah yang diambil oleh kerajaan, kita akan mempergiat dan mempercepatkan diversifikasi di pasaran, terutamanya dengan BRICS, negara-negara Afrika, Mercosur dan berbagai lagi lah. Ekspor utama adalah barangan elektrik, produk petroleum, makanan diproses dan minyak sawit. Ini contoh lah. Kita juga nak meningkatkan daya saing ekspor kita dan dari segi menangani lambakan import dari negara lain. Juga kita mempunyai dasar-dasar seperti akta duty anti lambakan, duty timbal balasan ataupun countervailing duties dan juga pengenaan langkah-langkah perlindungan yang lain. MITI juga akan memastikan ease of doing business terus diberi utamaan dan seperti polisi-polisi yang saya sebut tadi, NIMP dan yang sebagainya akan memperkukuhkan localization produk-produk kita. Seterusnya, mesyuarat pertama pasukan petugas NGCC ataupun NGCC Task Force akan diadakan secepat mungkin. Mandat utama pasukan petugas ini adalah untuk mempercepatkan pelaksanaan cadangan-cadangan NGCC. Ini akan dianggotai oleh wakil-wakil awam dan swasta, termasuk agensi MITI seperti Maida, Matret, pemimpin industri, ahli ekonomi, penganalisis dasar dan juga pakar-pakar yang relevan bagi melindungi kepentingan ekonomi dan pekerjaan rakyat kita. Jadi apa-apa perkembangan lanjut mengenai hasil mesyuarat petugas ini akan dimaklumkan kepada media dari masa ke semasa. Dan itulah dia saya daripada segi pencerahan apa yang berlaku dalam mesyuarat pada pagi ini. So
we will share the English version with them after the PC, so we can open the session to questions.
Okay, so there is an English version, and I think what we'll do to cut in the interest of time, we will share the English version of what I said just now to the media. So perhaps we could continue with the Q&A now. Thank you.
I have two questions.
Yes.
First question is President Xi will visit Malaysia from tomorrow. What kind of cooperation will Malaysia China have in the future? Will the Singapore-Kuala Lumpur high-speed road become a China-Malaysia cooperation project? This is the first question. And second question is, in response to Trump's global tariff war, what kind of communication will Malaysia made with Chinese leaders?
Okay, thank you. On the first, hello? Okay, can you hear me better? Okay, boleh dengar? Okay. Oh, it's okay. I cannot hear myself. Okay, sekarang boleh? Ya? Okay, thank you for the questions. For question number one, regarding the President Xi's visit, I think you have to wait for tomorrow when the President Xi's arrival. The Prime Minister will have already a discussion by Wednesday. So let's wait until Wednesday during the press conference and briefing by Prime Minister. Yeah, the second one on the question regarding where are we during the discussions and what is the impact, basically the discussion with the US. We are, sorry, your second question?
In response to Trump's global tariff war, what kind of communication will Malaysia make with Chinese leaders?
Yes. So at what level of discussion are we having with the leaders in China, the industry leaders also? Last week I had a meeting, a virtual meeting with the Minister of Commerce of China, Minister Wang, where we discussed on opportunities to work closer on matters pertaining to trade and investment. And at the same time, as Chair of ASEAN, we are also open to increase collaboration on trade and investment between ASEAN and China. And I'm sure this is one of the agenda that will be also discussed during the bilateral meeting between Malaysia and China during presidency's visit. Thank you. I don't know. That one you have to ask the Prime Minister or the Minister of Transport. Oh, thank you. Yes. Yes. Okay.
From Business Today. So I've got two questions for you. Worst case scenario, let's say the 10% of the tariff is the fixed rate that Malaysia has to be imposed. What does the simulation look like? I'm sure the team at MITI would have done some kind of simulation, and what would that look like for the country? The other question is
maybe the
in regards to
first question. Can I answer one by one first? Okay. So on the first question, you must understand that to do the simulation, what we have done is that we will look at the industries that are affected, and most of the industries that are affected those are that involved in exporting the products to the United States. And at the same time, we will have to look at the supply chain of the companies that are supporting those exporters. So for example, if company A is exporting to the US, that company A will have the entire ecosystem, the supply chain is supporting them as well. So we need to do a proper in-depth analysis on this. It will take time. We have some numbers, but it's still too early to share. And one also has to remember that the impact is not just the direct impact, but also the indirect impact. We are talking about, for example, what will happen to the demand side in the US if the prices are passed through to consumers. We also have to look at the impact of trade diversion. We also have to look at the impact of the third country impact as well, when our products are not as competitive to export to third countries. So these are being studied, but what is being important is that we must continue to engage the US and try and understand the concerns and try to mitigate some of those concerns, so that 10% can be, like I mentioned in my opening remarks, reduced as it is important. But the good news is that quite a number of sectors have been exempted, right? And recently, 2 days ago, there's a few more. So we have to continuously look at areas where we can explain why this supply chain is actually beneficial to the whole US industries as well. Second question?
Yeah, my second question is kind of linked to the first question. The impact is going to be felt by the industry regardless, because I think the 10% tariff is already taking effect. I think our neighbors have introduced some, they announced that they're going to take some issues, policies to help ease businesses. And just wondering whether the ministry has got some plans to roll out some of these initiatives to support those industries that will or could be affected by this.
Yes. So we discussed this morning at the NGCC, which this time we also included the cabinet. This was raised. We presented that which sectors are most affected, and some sectors are affected more than others, and some are actually beneficiary, right? So together with the relevant ministries, especially Ministry of Finance, we are working with all the relevant ministries to see what are the areas that we need to support our industries, right? It's still early days, as you know, but it's important that government continue to engage the industries to understand the pain points. We have done that last week, and will continue to do so. And with the establishment of the task force, which also comprised some of the industry players and industry experts, this will also help us to formulate the right policies to ensure that our industries are not as affected as it may seem to be, right? Thank you.
Hi. Hello, yeah, I'm Wei Hong from Swiss Time. Just want to check one thing, that when we go to as Malaysia, we go to Washington to negotiate. Does it we only speak on Malaysia itself or the ASEAN as a whole. Is there any non-negotiable issue that we will discuss?
Yeah. So that's again discussed this morning. We're now working with all the relevant ministries and agencies to see what are the areas that will help us in our negotiations. So we will not rush into specifics yet, publicly anyway. But what's important is we need to ensure that we have a whole of government approach and present to the Prime Minister through the NGCC to see what areas that we are willing to negotiate. But on the question whether it's bilateral or multilateral, it will be both platforms. When we go there, and I'm sure other countries will also go there, they will also have two interests. One is the interest of the country itself, like Malaysia will have specific issues that is relevant to Malaysia that may not be relevant to other countries. But we also agreed in our meeting with the ASEAN economic ministers, and recently also the ASEAN finance ministers were at the meeting last week. We all agree on the principles that we want to support. For example, principles on a rule-based multilateral trading system, right? Yeah, so this is, and also the agreement that we do not retaliate, the agreement that we will look at also talking to other groups and other economic group blocks to enlarge our cooperation with other groups, and also on ASEAN itself, we want to see how ASEAN can improve our own trade between our countries, between our member states.
Secretary, following up on that question, with Wei Hong's question, Norman here from Nikkei. Any other ministers like Indonesian minister or Thai minister will be joining you in that multilateral meeting with the US, with Washington? And following up on that, what is the next plan for the ASEAN Geoeconomic Command Center as well?
Yeah. So on the ASEAN Geoeconomic Center, the senior officials at the senior high-level task force, together with our team, because it'll be co-chaired by both Malaysia and Indonesia, that is happening as we speak. And on the multilateral, again, whatever it is, we are going to have one voice on issues that we can agree on. That's, after all, what ASEAN centrality is all about. So we are now looking at continuously engaging our ASEAN counterparts. But again, as I mentioned just now, it's not just ASEAN with the US, but ASEAN with other countries as well. We have ASEAN with Japan, ASEAN with Korea. Recently, Prime Minister mentioned about his discussion with other leaders as well. So ASEAN as a bloc can look at talking to other countries as well in these challenging times.
GG Press.
Okay, he's been.
Seiichi Oshima from GG Press. Could you explain a bit more about the concept of safeguard measures, including the semiconductors and aerospace parts? I remember you mentioned about it a couple of times before.
Yeah, that is the TSA, the Technology Safeguard Agreements. That, I think, is one of our proposal, right, that we want to look at. We are going to get the relevant, again, agencies and our AGC and all that to look at potentially having a technical safeguard agreement, right? Technology safeguard agreement. So that is one option. As you know, the concern is about security and of the technology that is produced here, and also any technology that we import. So these are areas where we are going to look at to see how, and we are already made it public that this is one area that we are willing to talk to with the US. Wait, you get this you first. Boleh dengar.
Hello? Yeah, okay. Updates on the meeting with the US. Any dates finalized yet?
Okay.
And last one, which will be, what is Malaysia planning to, how is Malaysia going to convince the US to sort of back on the tariffs?
Yeah. Second one, very hard to answer. We will have to have a comprehensive strategy, but at the same time, we need to know where is our red line, right? So this is where it's important that we had this meeting chaired by Prime Minister today to explain to our cabinet colleagues some of the issues that we may have to engage with the US. Some are difficult issues, but some are issues that we think can be resolved, but it requires the support of all the relevant ministries. On the question about trade, when we are going to the US, I'm glad to inform that our team in US, especially our team in MITI based in Washington, have already engaged the US, especially the USTR, and they are in discussion with some of the points that we have raised today in the press conference. At the same time, next week there is a meeting, comprising of senior officials of ASEAN, where it's already scheduled. But the deputy or the assistant USTR is also coming from Washington to attend that. So there's another avenue. And at the same time, I have officially written through our office in Washington and also through the embassy here in the US for us to meet up with my counterpart, the USTR, as well as the Secretary of Commerce. We haven't gotten a date, but at the working level, at the senior official levels, discussions have started. Yes.
Actually, ASEAN countries' unity is very important. So we know that every country of ASEAN is imposed by different rate of tariff. So will ASEAN country negotiate with America as a full community?
ASEAN countries will do two things. One, they will negotiate on matters that is specific to each country. And at the same time, on a multilateral platform, which is ASEAN, we will talk about areas that we can agree on. And I mentioned just now in our meetings at the ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting, we all agree on the principle of multilateralism. We agree on not to retaliate with more counter-tariff measures or with any counter-tariff measures, and then we also agree to improve trade within our countries and also look at trade with other blocs. So those are areas where ASEAN agrees on, and we will definitely discuss that with the US. But at the same time, like I said, every country will have different issues to raise with the US, so that also will happen. So it will happen at both bilateral and multilateral level.
Kiran from the start.
Hi, Kiran.
I have two questions. One is, you said good news that we were exempted, some sectors were exempted from the tariffs, right? Can I know, after excluding that, how much of the exports to US would be affected with tariffs? That's my first question.
Only 24%, under ENE.
Yeah, and so the one that is exempted is under ENE, which is semiconductor. That's close to 30%.
So the rest 70% is pretty much affected?
Yes, by the 10%.
Mm-hmm. And then also, how are we addressing the non-tariff barriers that are pointed out already? Do we have any update on that?
Yes, so this was also discussed, and then that's why I said we're going to engage all the ministries, because the non-tariff barriers covers many other ministries, so but we will coordinate that discussion. Some are not right, we don't agree with the observation, but we have to explain why we don't agree with the observation. Maybe there's some new developments they are not aware of, but some areas where we feel it's important for the country's national interest. So that again could be a red line. But some we feel there's room for us to discuss and negotiate. So that is under the NTB, the non-tariff barriers, where it involves many ministries, as you know. So the Prime Minister has asked MITI to engage all those relevant ministries and then come back to Cabinet for discussions.
Sorry. Could you just provide a little bit more detail on what the hot issues are in the US?
Yeah. Well, the hot issue in the US, I think one is the trade imbalance, right? I think as you've seen from the tariff, one of the reasons why different countries have been imposed different tariff rate was actually based on the trade imbalance. And what we can see, the bigger your trade deficit is or trade surplus in this case with the US, the higher the tariff. So we need to address that concern. Secondly, I think is on the issues pertaining to sectors that are deemed protected or deemed supported unfairly by Malaysia, or obstacles for trade, right? The non-tariff barriers, like they call it. So these are areas where we, like you asked us now, we need to see. Some are true, but there is a reason why we are imposing it. Some we feel need to update them that it's not exactly how it may seem, and some we think it's fair that we can look at maybe those were rules that was imposed during times where it may not be as relevant as today, because industries have progressed, may not require such protection or support, right? It involves simple things like export export subsidies, right, for certain sectors. Right, Patrick may not agree, but what I'm saying is that we need to look at this objectively, but one must bear in mind that we not only have to look at the impact to Malaysian industry, but we also have other partners apart from the United States. So what we give in to the United States, others will ask the same, right? So all of this, we have to look at it holistically, and then we'll revert back with the trade-off for any decisions that we are going to make. Yeah.
So is the Malaysian government considering similar strategies if they want to tariff, or are they going to hold on from the existing items? So that's my first question. And for my second question is,
Sorry, so can you repeat the first question? China did something, you said?
Consider some indirect retaliation, kita tak
Oh.
So apart from direct retaliation, China has also implemented strategies like limiting American films in its
Oh,
market.
okay.
So is the government considering any similar strategies like that, or are we going to hold on to the free trade ideals? So that is my first question. And as for my second question, were there any discussion held with, for example, Intel, and what is their concern about this tariff, and what have they said to the government about that?
Yes. On the first question, no, we are not going to take any retaliatory measures, including what you just suggested. What was example just now. For the time being, we are very clear. We have gotten agreement from the cabinet that we should not take retaliatory measures, and this was also agreed upon with other ASEAN countries. The second one is on. Okay, yes, correct. There was a discussion with Intel. In fact, one discussion involved Prime Minister, Sri Anwar Ibrahim, was there on the call with US team, the senior leadership of Intel in the US, and also the senior leadership Intel here in Malaysia. And they have continued to commit, and they explain some of the challenges for big companies like Intel, where the whole supply chain is really important for the commercial viability of the business. Similarly, 2 days ago, Oracle also met up with the Prime Minister. The discussion was also on some of the challenges companies like Oracle will face, because they are also a major player in Malaysia and in the region and globally as well. So the answer is yes. We have again asked for industries to support us as well, and I think because our interests are aligned, we have that's why we get industries to be involved, especially US companies who are based in Malaysia, who are exporting back to US. They are exporting mostly intermediate goods, then the finished goods are done in the US. So that it's important that they also explain why this is actually beneficial for the US. So we are working together with the two companies that I mentioned. There are not many more, especially through the US Malaysia Chamber of Commerce and also the US ASEAN Chamber of Commerce.
Secretary, has it been any responses from the Magnificent Seven groups who are investing? Some of them who have been staying in Malaysia. Are they suspending their expansion plans in Malaysia, or are they and also some of them like Infineon and other, are they re-looking at their expansion plans, or probably cut down in terms of the investments in Malaysia?
So far, the large ones that we met and we discussed, I think Maida is also here, have committed to continue with the investments that they have made. Of course, there are some smaller ones that are, concerned. So they are, of course, waiting for more clear visibility, because it's very hard for companies today to make any informed decisions regarding whether to proceed or not to proceed. But one cannot discount the fact that this will definitely affect decisions of companies, because like it or not, uncertainty does create challenges for companies when they want to invest in the future. Yes, please.
Minister.
Okay, can we just one.
Last two questions. So this is the second last one.
Oh, thank you, Surya. Was wondering when you're going to talk. Okay, right. Please. Yeah.
Okay, this is the follow-up question. Could you tell us where this senior officers meeting between ASEAN and US will be taking place?
Yeah. It will be in a very nice place called Penang
On 24th of April.
on 24th of April.
24. 24.
Yeah, 24th of April.
Just one day, right?
Yeah.
That's one day.
2 hours only. Okay.
Masra will be there. Sorry.
Yes, Minister, I just want to come back to the semiconductor issue. I think Donald Trump has tweeted that he's going to make some announcements with regards to the semiconductor tariff based on national security. Is Malaysia worried about what he's going to announce? Are you concerned about this? And what will you be telling the industry with regards to what's going to happen? And the other question is with regards to are there any news about orders being cancelled? I mean, is Matri receiving any news of that, or suspension of orders with regards to what's happening with the tariff?
Yes. So on the first question, that's regarding again on the semiconductor. Yeah. So on the semiconductor, definitely, naturally, we will be worried about any impact to our semiconductor sector. So we are working closely with the industry to understand the impact. And industry is also, especially the American companies that I mentioned, was also in communication with the administration directly as well. So there's two-pronged approach. So we are watching closely, but it's very hard to predict. And I think the one that you mentioned is because right after the announcement that it's been exempted, they say that it's exempted, but we're not sure for how long, because they are now studying on issues pertaining to national interest.
Malaysia managed to fight its case and share to the embassy here to bring this up to the administration over there. Was this communication done?
Communication is always done at various levels. Like I said, we have a office in Washington. MITI has a minister counselor in Washington. He is also engaging his counterparts there. So that engagement is happening. On the question regarding order cancellation, Matre CEO is here. Naturally, there are three things that's happening. One is they are waiting for confirmation, but not confirmation, waiting for the actual decision that what is the long-term decision. But in the meantime, they're still exporting and bearing those costs, right? Because at the moment, they want to fulfill their orders, so they will absorb that cost. That means.
So the Malaysian companies are absorbing the cost?
Yes. There's three scenarios. That's the first one, right? Second one, of course, the importers will absorb that cost, right? Which up to them, whether they absorb or they pass through their customers. And the third one, there will be on advice of the buyers. So some of the buyers may delay or may put on hold. So then, of course, they will not export those products. So that's the scenarios that we are being briefed. But the majority is, for now, as you know, it's only been a week and a half. The exports still continue. Some are absorbed by the companies who are exporting. Some are absorbed by the companies that are importing. Okay, so. Yeah, because of the 90 days. 90 days pause now everything moves on again. There was some when it was 24%, but 10%, most of it is continuing.
And semiconductor zero.
And semiconductor is of course zero, right? Okay, one last one, please. Yeah. I think that is best safe during the negotiations.
Cannot reveal.
Cannot reveal
all
all.
the strategy.
Especially with Melissa there.
Baiklah, terima kasih kepada Ibu Menteri atas penerangan yang begitu padat dan terima kasih
Oh, padat.
rakan-rakan media atas soalan-soalan anda.
Okay. Thank you.